We hear so much about climate change, in terms of these huge, almost abstract threats like rising sea levels and, glaciers disappearing. And it's so big, it can almost feel a little distant.
Hmm.
But what if I told you that something as delicate and as beautiful as a butterfly in Andhra Pradesh is actually sending us a very real warning signal about the very same issues?
That's a fascinating perspective, and it might seem surprising to focus on something so seemingly fragile.
Right.
But these butterflies are incredibly sensitive indicators of environmental change. They're giving us a real-time look at the health of their environment, and as you'll see, it has some direct implications for us as well.
And the sheer variety of these butterflies in Andhra Pradesh is astonishing. We're talking about 273 different species buzzing around.
Wow.
That's comparable to the biodiversity you might find in like a miniature Amazon
That's
rainforest.
incredible.
Just imagine. And it's not just, a few common types either. We're talking about the swallowtails, the Papilionidae family. These are like the VIPs of the butterfly world, often large and strikingly patterned. Then you have the skippers, the Hesperidae, always darting about with their quick characteristic flight. And the Pyrrhidae, imagine fields of mustard flowers just alive with their bright colors. It must be an incredible sight to see. We even have a couple of incredibly rare species in the Rhyodinidae family. Then there's the Nymphalidae, a really diverse group considered to be top tier in terms of butterfly evolution and variety. And finally, the Lichenidae, often small but playing a vital role in the ecosystem. It's a truly remarkable collection.
Absolutely. This rich tapestry of butterfly families in Andhra Pradesh really speaks to the ecological complexity and the health of the region. Each family has kind of evolved to fill these specific niches, relying on particular plants and environmental conditions. So the presence of all these different groups isn't just a matter of, pretty wings. It's a sign of a functioning and diverse environment. If one of these families starts to struggle, it can tell us something really important about a potential imbalance in the ecosystem.
But here's where things get really interesting and
Yeah.
frankly a little concerning. This amazing butterfly population, this vibrant natural indicator, is facing a significant threat. And the main culprit,
Hmm.
you probably guessed it, climate change. And it's not just the, headline-grabbing disasters that are taking a toll. It's these more subtle shifts in weather patterns and habitat conditions that are impacting even these seemingly resilient creatures.
Right. And butterflies are often considered the canaries in the coal mine when it comes to environmental change.
I like that.
Their relatively short lifespans mean that we can see the effects of these changes on their populations much faster than we might with, longer-lived animals.
Yeah.
And because they're so sensitive to specific plants and temperatures, it makes them particularly vulnerable.
Now, there's a fascinating individual at the heart of this story, Jimmy Carter Palomaty. Not the former president,
Okay.
but a wildlife photographer and environmentalist based in Martha This guy is a real authority on Andra's butterflies. He's personally identified an astounding 231 out of the 273 known species in the state. That's years of dedicated observation.
That's incredible. His accomplishment really highlights the depth of his connection to this local environment. Being able to distinguish between so many similar species requires an incredible level of familiarity,
Right.
a deep understanding of their subtle differences in appearance and behavior. He's essentially created like a living record of the butterfly populations there.
It's amazing. And as Jimmy explains it, Andhra Pradesh is like a haven for butterflies because of its incredibly diverse landscapes. You've got everything from these dense, humid, deciduous forests to the sun-drenched coastal plains and the rugged terrain of the Nalamala Hills. Each of these distinct environments supports its own unique set of butterfly communities, each adapted to the specific plants and climate of that area.
So we can think of these different habitats as these specialized ecosystems within a larger region.
Okay.
And each one offers the specific host plants that the butterfly caterpillars need to feed on, and the nectar-rich flowers that sustain the adult butterflies.
Yeah.
This habitat diversity really is the foundation for the incredible butterfly biodiversity we're seeing.
It's remarkable, but sadly this butterfly paradise is facing some serious challenges. Jimmy's pointed out several key threats, and one that really stuck with me is the destruction of the hilltop grasslands, especially places like Gudisa. He calls them butterfly maternity wards, which I thought was such a powerful image.
Oh, wow.
These open, sunny areas are crucial for many species to breed, and they're disappearing.
Yes. These grasslands provide the ideal conditions for butterfly reproduction. Plenty of sunlight for warmth, the right kinds of grasses and wildflowers for egg laying, and shelter from predators. When these areas are lost, it directly impacts the butterfly's ability to reproduce successfully, leading to population declines.
And it's not just the grasslands. The rise of monoculture farming, those vast stretches of land dedicated to a single crop, is also a major issue. These create what are essentially food deserts for many butterfly species that rely on a variety of different plants for nectar and larval food. Then there's shifting cultivation, known locally as podu, which can fragment and destroy existing habitats.
Right.
Of course, just the general loss of natural areas as land is converted for development and other uses. It's, as Jimmy put it, imagine if your home just vanished overnight.
Mhm.
That's the reality for these butterflies.
That's a really powerful way to visualize the impact of habitat loss. It's not just about losing pretty scenery. It's about removing the fundamental resources that these creatures need to survive. And monoculture is particularly damaging because it replaces a diverse ecosystem with a single plant species that just can't support the complex web of life that butterflies and other insects rely on.
But the good news is that Jimmy isn't just observing and documenting the problem, he's actively working on solutions. He's involved in afforestation projects trying to restore some of that lost habitat by planting trees. He's also running public awareness campaigns to help people understand and appreciate these often overlooked creatures.
That's wonderful.
And crucially, he's working with educational programs for children because, as he wisely notes, fostering a sense of environmental stewardship early on is key.
His hands-on approach is so important. Conservation requires not just scientific understanding, but also dedicated action on the ground.
Absolutely.
And by actively restoring habitats and engaging the local community, particularly young people, he's laying the groundwork for long-term conservation success.
And thankfully, Jimmy's not alone in this endeavor. There's a really impressive network of researchers and conservationists dedicated to studying and protecting these butterflies. We're talking about experts from institutions like Andhra University and Yogi Vimana University, as well as passionate individuals like Rajesh Dasi, Rajasekhar Bandi, Dr. Kishore Vivek Rathodapana, Saragata B. Veeramana, and Ramakrishna. It's a real team effort.
This collaborative spirit is essential for effective conservation. By bringing together the expertise of academic researchers, the practical knowledge of field conservationists, and the enthusiasm of citizen scientists, we can gain a much more comprehensive understanding of the challenges these butterflies face and develop more effective strategies to protect them.
Absolutely. And their collective work is generating a wealth of valuable data. They've recorded over 8,000 butterfly sightings using online platforms like iNaturalist, I Found Butterflies, Butterflies of India, and the India Biodiversity Portal. It's like a massive community science project mapping where these butterflies are and how their populations might be changing.
It's amazing.
And here's a really exciting bit. They've even identified 7 new genera of butterflies in the state.
Wow.
In a world where we sometimes think we've discovered everything that's a major find,
Discovering new genera is particularly significant. It suggests that there are still fundamental aspects of biodiversity that we're only just beginning to understand, even within relatively well-studied groups like butterflies. And these online platforms are proving to be incredibly powerful tools for collecting large-scale data on species distribution and seasonal patterns, which is vital for tracking the impacts of environmental change.
and speaking of long-term dedication, researcher Sarah Gadam has spent the last decade diligently studying the butterflies in Visakhapatnam's Eastern Ghats. His research has confirmed the presence of 190 butterfly species in that region alone.
That's amazing.
This isn't just about making a list. It has real implications for conservation because 27 of these species are legally protected under India's Wildlife Protection Act, and 9 are on the IUCN's Conservation Priority List, highlighting their global importance.
This legal protection provides a crucial safeguard for these vulnerable species. Listing them under the Wildlife Protection Act means they receive greater protection against threats like habitat destruction and illegal collection. Similarly, the IUCN listing raises their profile internationally and helps to focus conservation efforts and resources on those species most at risk.
And it gets even more critical. 2 species, Peel's palmfly and orchid tit, are now classified as critically endangered. That's the highest level of threat before extinction in the wild.
Oh, wow.
It's a stark reminder that we're not just talking about fewer butterflies, we're facing the very real possibility of losing these unique creatures forever. It's like losing a piece of a complex puzzle. The whole picture becomes a little less complete.
That's a very apt analogy. The extinction of even a single species can have unforeseen consequences for the entire ecosystem. These critically endangered butterflies may play specific roles in pollination or as a food source for other animals, and their loss can create ripple effects throughout the food web.
So why are butterflies such reliable indicators of environmental change? Well, there are a couple of key reasons. First off, their lifespans are relatively short, often just 2 to 4 weeks for many species. This rapid turnover means that any negative environmental changes will show up in their populations quite quickly.
Right.
Second, many butterfly species have very specific relationships with their host plants. Their caterpillars can only feed on certain types of leaves.
Exactly. Their short life cycles and specialized diets make them incredibly sensitive to even subtle shifts in their environment. If the timing of plant blooming changes due to altered weather patterns, or if their specific host plants disappear because of habitat loss, the butterfly populations will be directly and rapidly impacted. They can't easily adapt to new food sources or drastically different conditions.
And we're already seeing the tangible effects of this.
Right.
Places in Andhra Pradesh that were once known as butterfly hotspots, like Kambalakonda and Kailasagiri, are now reporting a noticeable decline in the numbers and variety of butterflies. It's a visible sign that the environmental conditions in these areas are no longer as supportive as they once were.
These declines in previously thriving butterfly populations are a serious warning sign. They suggest that the ecological balance in these areas is being disrupted, likely due to a combination of factors like increasing urbanization, habitat degradation, and the ongoing effects of climate change.
But the loss of butterflies isn't just a sad aesthetic issue.
Right.
There are significant ecological consequences. Butterflies are important pollinators for many plant species, playing a vital role in plant reproduction. They also serve as a food source for birds, spiders, and other animals. And as we've discussed, they act as indicators of the overall health of an ecosystem. If the butterflies are struggling, it's a good bet that other parts of the ecosystem are also under stress.
Absolutely. Butterflies are an integral part of the food web and contribute significantly to ecosystem function. Their decline can have cascading effects impacting plant diversity and the populations of other animals that depend on them. They truly are a barometer of environmental health.
Now, while all this might sound a bit bleak, it's important to remember that there are things we can do. There are solutions we can implement to help these butterflies and, by extension, the wider environment.
Yes.
It starts with the crucial work of restoring forests and planting native plant species, the very plants these butterflies rely on for food and shelter. Reducing the use of pesticides, which can be devastating to insect populations, is also vital. And perhaps most importantly, we need to integrate conservation into our everyday lives and decision-making.
You're absolutely right. Conservation isn't just the responsibility of scientists or government agencies. It requires a collective effort. By creating more green spaces in urban areas, planting butterfly-friendly gardens with native species, supporting sustainable agricultural practices, and making conscious consumer choices, each of us can contribute to creating a more hospitable world for butterflies and other wildlife.
And there's something uniquely engaging about butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't menacing like a predator or as abstract as a global climate model. Their delicate beauty can be a real gateway to connecting people with nature and environmental issues in a way that feels personal and relatable.
Right.
If we can be captivated by a stunning butterfly fluttering by, maybe that can spark a desire to protect the habitats they depend on. Because ultimately, efforts to conserve these tiny, beautiful creatures can lead to the protection of entire ecosystems.
That's a very insightful point. Their inherent beauty and vulnerability can indeed serve as a powerful catalyst for broader environmental awareness and action. By focusing on something that evokes an emotional response, we can motivate individuals and communities to make the changes necessary to safeguard the natural world.
So the key takeaway here is clear. The decline of butterflies in Andhra Pradesh is much more than just a sad story about disappearing insects. It's a significant environmental warning signal that demands our attention and action.
It's a vital reminder that even seemingly small changes in the environment can have profound and far-reaching consequences for the intricate web of life. And the fate of these butterflies is inextricably linked to the health and resilience of the ecosystems they inhabit, which ultimately affects us all.
And it really makes you think about our own connection to nature. Even in small ways, we can all play a part in conservation, whether it's planting a few butterfly-friendly flowers in a window box, supporting organizations dedicated to habitat restoration, or simply being more mindful of the impact our daily choices have on the natural world.
Every action, no matter how small it may seem, contributes to the bigger picture. By making conscious and informed choices in our daily lives, we can collectively make a meaningful difference in protecting biodiversity and mitigating the impacts of environmental change.
So let's leave you with this thought. If future generations only know butterflies from photographs in a book, what does that say about our actions today and the kind of world we're leaving behind? It's a quiet but powerful question, one that carries the weight of countless fluttering wings.